Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the show. My name is Diana Nguyen, and I am the host and creator of the SnortCast. We've been going live twice a week on the SnortCast. I just love live TV. The SnortCast. We've got international. We've got Williamsburg. We've got Ohio, Baltimore, Toronto. We've got Tonga. What? I think people just heard sex in the second point, so we'll flow from.
I am not ready to talk about it. It is. I just don't. Oh my God.
What the hell happened to your arm?
It's just a fashion accessory.
That was fantastic.
Thank you so much for joining the SnortCast, something that I deeply love doing, which is laughing. And I hope to see you on our show every week, keeping it snorting real. And howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the SnortCast. My name is Diana Nguyen. You know who I am. And I'm just going to do a double check because the internet loves to do its thing. But welcome to the show. And if you are watching live right now, please let us know where you are watching from. You know the drill. I love knowing where my snorters are tuning in from, because this show is for you. This show was started last year during Melbourne lockdown 2020, and it was my perfect opportunity to lock down comedians, because no comedians were able to leave their homes after 8 or 9 o'clock last year. So thank you so much for supporting the SnortCast. We're up to our 35th interview. I'm really excited to bring on our guests, and so they can tell us their story, their progress, and why comedy. And I think it's so important, especially on LinkedIn. A lot of people do ask, how do I be funny? Like, how do you start to be funny, or what are the tips to being funny? So this is your opportunity to ask questions. And I would like you also to follow us on the SnortCast on Instagram, YouTube, and also on Facebook. We go live on Facebook as well. So if you're on Facebook, you can also tell us where you're watching the show from. And also, I would like to thank you, our Patreon community, for supporting the show. It's really wonderful to have people who believe in your, goal and mission, which is to get people laughing and snorting and understanding where all the comedy comes from. Oh, and I just saw a stray hair. Bam. Awesome. Okay, so tell us where you are watching from, and we are going to start the show very soon. And as you know, before I bring on my guests, I do a little spiel of their bio. And Lou and I go way back from Adelaide Fringe. I think it was 2017. I did Adelaide Fringe in 2017. I knew pretty much no one. It was my first kind of solo show I was taking, called Naked. And I remember standing at Rundle Mall trying to fly and give flyers to people. And somehow Lou was also there from Melbourne. And we ended up flyering together outside half tickets, trying to get people to come see our show. And that's the gruel of being an artist, is getting bums on seats. But more about Lou is she's a multi-award winning comedian, writer, and composer. Most recently, she was a musical director for an evening, for a show called For an Evening with Zoe Coombs Marr at the Adelaide Cabaret Festival, and featured ABC's Reef break alongside Poppy Montgomery and Vince Colosimo. She also, during lockdown in 2020, produced and created a masterpiece, which won Melbourne Fringe 2020 Best Cabaret. And I remember watching it and laughing so hard of all the craziness that she did. And I just burst out laughing. I needed that laugh to get me through the next phase of the whole lockdown here in Melbourne. So before I bring her on, I'm going to show you a little clip of her work, and just bear with me, because this is what we do. Okay, here we go.
There's overpopulation and political corruption, misogyny and mass consumption. Authoritarian governments have got us shook, and we celebrate Invasion Day. Now that's James Cook. Plastic bags are out, then they're in. Racism based on your skin. Calibrate these issues from politics to manslaughter. And picture this in 30 years, we'll all be underwater. It's getting hot in here. So please stop burning coal. Global warming gets a big no-no. One thing to say, it's fuck you, ScoMo. Australian Parliament, I'm like, see ya. I've seen spotted cabinets at IKEA. We got gay marriage, though we did a good job, but some people still believe that we want to marry dogs. The world is fucked. I'm getting existentialist, directionless from my very genesis. Eminence, preeminent. We are irrelevant if our place of residence by global warming is reduced to detritus, but I'm Lou Wall and I'm gonna make it right. Wait,
and let's welcome Lou Wall.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's get straight into it, which is usually my first question is, I've done your bio, but if there were three things that the audience don't know about you, who are you?
Oh, three things?
Yes.
I think I'm tall. I'm 6'4", which you can't tell from Zoom, so it's been a great year for me in 2020. I'm usually a redhead, but I booked a Fish Fingers commercial, so, I'm currently blonde. And the third thing about me, I'm allergic to dogs.
Really?
And that's me in a nutshell. Yeah.
No. Fish fingers ad.
Yeah. My vegetarian ass was there just like shopping. It was a whole time. The thing is, they cast two redheads and they're like, one of you has to change. So I was like, I'll take one for the team. And now I have red regrowth.
Right. Are you going to keep it for Comedy Festival?
Absolutely not. I need to match my pubes to the color of my hair. So.
Okay. Now we know what's in your show. My next question I'm going to ask you is, if you had to write a memoir about your life, what would be the title of your book?
Oh, interesting. I think it would be, which has been the title of one of my shows, It's Not Me, It's Lou.
Whoa. What year was that show?
Time blurs after last year. I believe it was like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because I saw the show. I saw the show you did called Dingo. Was that right?
Oh yeah, that was called A Dingo Ate My Baby. We've really been through it in terms of show names, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah, you have. No, and that's the show that I met you at Adelaide.
In Adelaide, yeah. Hearing you talk about it then, and you saying that it was your first Adelaide, when I saw you, I was like, who is this woman? She's been doing it for ages. She's a professional. Like, that was my first Adelaide, and I was like looking to you like, I was like, you're a hero.
No, I needed the support. I was like, no, I just needed a backup assistant. I just needed someone just to say, yeah, you're great. No, I was failing inside.
We all were. It's Adelaide Fringe, baby.
It is Adelaide Fringe. And, the premise of this show, the SnortCast, for our audience is, where did the comedy begin for you as a child? Like, was it a teenager, a child? Like, when did you realize that this was a power that you could use?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I think my brother, who's younger than me, is hilarious, like funniest person I know, way funnier than me, would never do stand-up because, he's more intelligent than that. But I think I used to watch him getting laughs and be super like jealous of it. And I think maybe like in high school, this is a really hard question. I actually have no idea. But like, I think in high school, I just loved pranks and I loved like making people laugh. And I grew up in a very small like country town and I was gay, but no one knew. And I was like tall and I stuck out like a sore thumb. And I think comedy was a way to like kind of break through and make everyone feel at ease when they were around me. So I relied on it really heavily, especially towards the end of high school.
And what small town did you grow up in? Was it Victoria?
It was in New South Wales. It was called Coomber. Yeah, that's right near the snow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
A gin, 4 gins in the snow. That's a good title for it.
That's my memoir title, actually. I changed my mind.
Oh, wow. Like, and yeah, so is your brother still funny, or you're the funnier one now?
Oh, he's still way funnier. We actually, my younger brother just had a 21st, and me and my other brother decided we'd do a speech, and like he was the shining star. Everyone's like, Tim, you're so funny, and I was just there being like, yes, I am a comedian returning home to Coomber. Like,
Oh, that's great. And I guess, you know, as a teenager and doing all these pranks, like who has inspired your comedy? Because you sing, you rap, you play piano, you're not really a comedian. You're like a whole range of artistry of comedy. Like, who inspires this?
I think I'm just very confused, actually. That's a nice way to put it, but I'm just like, I don't know what I like to. Well, I think I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was in high school, but I was like, all I knew that I wanted to do was get out of the town that I was living in. So I tried obviously like very hard at like academics. And then actually this, like randomly when I was in year 12, these 3 guys came down from Canberra and they like held this like comedy writing workshop. And for some reason I was like, you know what? This is it. I'm going in. And it was at the local library and we did it. And I watched them do comedy and I was like, this is insane. Like that was like my first comedy inspiration. They were just like, you know, like dudes from Canberra doing comedy. And then we had to like perform at like the local theatre, which is like a glorified shed. And like the whole town came out. And I remember my mum shitting herself because it was just like me and then a couple of like 50-year-old blokes from Coomber. And for some reason I'd been like, this is my destiny. I'm going to do it. Because that was what inspired me. I was like, I was inspired to like get out. And then I did it. And I think it like popped off. And then I was like, okay, I'm a comedian now. And just kind of like went for it. And I think in terms of like doing lots of different things, I really just like get bored very, very easily. So I like to like mix it up, and I love putting on a show. I love being dramatic. I love having flair. I love being very gay. So like, I think anything that I can throw at it for a good show, I'm like, hell yeah, put it in.
Yeah. And I just love that picture of these men in their 50s sitting in the audience and you coming out and just
I know
doing shining. And
I wore sequins of all things. Like I wore gold sequins. Like, why did I do that? I have no idea, but I was like, I'm here.
I am here, everyone. But you know, even just that is even a metaphor for your work that I've seen over the years. Is that you go on the edge. You are not safe. And I think that's so good for us as women as well, that you push it. And you know, there's this clip that we just watched before. You name it. Where does that come from? That honesty and grunt for power. Like what brings that out from you?
I didn't even. That's very nice. Thank you for saying that. I think I went to acting school after I decided I was going to be a stand-up comedian in Coomber. And I think when I was at acting school, it was very like prescriptive. Like everything was like about fitting into this like box and this mold. And when I graduated, I got like no roles, I got no auditions, and everyone around me was getting stuff. And so I kind of, something like flicked a switch. And that was the year that we met in Adelaide. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand I have to do this myself. So I think when I made that decision, a decision I made like in tandem with that was also to make work that I would want to see. And I was seeing so much like fucking Shakespeare and like boring shit, or like, you know, stand-up comedy that was just like an hour of talking and there was like no through line, which for me, I was like, get out. Like, so I think it really just comes from a drive of like, what would I love to see on stage, and then trying to like recreate that myself, I think.
Beautiful. So really you inspire yourself.
No, I disinspire myself. It's all self-flagellation until opening night.
Yes. Well, and also I guess the other one is I know that you play basketball, and I play basketball as well. I feel like there's also competitiveness as well, that, you know, to do better. I feel like if you are just
100%.
on a type, you know, if you're just like chilling out and just, you know, doing it, and you're not in the grunt of, you know, the struggle of trying to make great work, because which I am in the moment. That I feel like that's not part of your world. Like, you want to be competitive. This is your work. This is your life.
Totally. And I almost get more competitive when I'm surrounded by, like, obviously the like comedy industry is like dudes and like a lot of white people. So like for me as a white person, like I have that like comfort zone, but like seeing that there's a lot of dudes, I'm just like, oh, bring it on. Like, I think that I'm better than all of them. It's just like a classic lesbian being like, yeah, let's go. Like, but like definitely comes from my basketball days. But actually I was in my hometown over Christmas, and I found this little, I painted my bedroom bright red when I was in year 12. I was having a moment. I was very angsty. And under the windowsill in like whiteout, I'd written actor, and then stuck a picture of like my high school headshot to it. So I was like, wow, I've really been like very gung-ho from the start. But yeah, I think it's like a bit of basketball, a bit of competitive sports. I grew up playing a lot of sports, and yeah, just like, I'm just hungry for it, I think.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I see people like you, and I'm like, God, how does she do it? Like, it's so inspiring. Yeah, add you to one of my inspirations.
Thanks. I'm not sure how I do it. We'll find out in 2 weeks when it all kind of happens, right? That's the thing. 2 weeks time. And let's talk about your show. Your show opens in 4 weeks time, less than 4 weeks. It's called That One Time I Joined the Illuminati.
Self-explanatory, right?
It's at Storyville from the 6th to the 18th at 7:45. You can book tickets at thecomedyfestival.com.au. Tell us about it. That's a great title. Was this show meant to be part of last year's comedy festival?
No, I actually I was going to do Lusical and Musical for last year's Comedy Fest, and I ended up making that online completely, which worked out quite nicely. And then this year I was like, in January, I like sat bolt upright, and I was like, I need to do a show in the comedy festival. And then I've been writing this musical with my partner and this composer that we work with all the time, James, and we've been writing about like flat earthers and conspiracy theories. So I've been as research like deep in these forums, right? And then one day in lockdown, I was like, what if, like, there's so many conspiracy theories at the moment, like they're rife, like anti-vaxxers, rife, 5G gives you cancer, rife, everywhere. And I was like, okay, so like the Illuminati, like they don't exist, right? Like they're whatever, they're just like this meme. And then I was like, what if and my prank genes came through, and I was like, what if I could join them? Like, how, you know, I'm like some fucking poor, like, lezo in fucking Melbourne, like, why not? Why can't I join the global elite? So I went on this mission, which started as a trolling mission. And I just, for 3 months, I like literally did nothing other than talk to conspiracy theorists on the internet. And then like I would Google Maps Illuminati and like All Seeing Eye and like Triangle. And then I'd go to all the locations, and like there's like this hair studio that's called like Illuminati Hair. And I like went there, and I'm like, do you know anything? And I just like, I followed every avenue. My only rule was that I would never like give more than $10 because a lot of them are scammers. So I like had this little budget, and I was like, okay. So like when they'd be like, transfer me $70, I'd transfer them 70 cents. I'd be like, done. Like, and yeah, and I ended up in, let's call it a cabal of incels on the internet, which was very scary because I used the same pin my password is my birthday. Like I'm terrible. I have no security. And yeah, and then I had to backtrack from there. It was a whole thing. So yeah, I was like, okay, I got to make sure about this.
Oh my goodness. It sounds so good. It sounds
It's
so
so
good.
dumb. It's the dumbest shit I've ever done. And I'm completely terrified that like I'll open my show and then everyone in the audience will just like take off their hood and be like, hello, it is us from the Brotherhood. And I'm just like, so please come to my show because I want to fill it with not the Illuminati.
That's it. Let's do that. And my next question was going to be, what topics inspire you and how do you start writing these ideas? You've talked about
true.
the topic of Illuminati. Yeah, what inspires you? Like, when do you go, oh, that's a good show that I feels like you've done a lot of research by spending a maximum of $10 for every Illuminati account. But yeah, what gets you to start writing?
I'm a tragic writer. Like I never really write anything down, or I write it down, but it will be on like on my desk right now, there's like 700 Post-its and like my notes app and stuff. But I think I start when I have, which sounds really trashy, but when I have a good title, I start. So like I did this show called Lou Wall's Drag Race. And one of my friends was like, RuPaul Lou Wall, like your name rhymes. And I was like, well, I have to do that show now. Like I have to do it. And so I have to have a good title and it has to be something that I'm like super interested in. And usually my inspiration comes from pop music. I really love like pop music. I love YouTube. I love TikTok. I love like real basic art forms, you know, like I will see like someone do a skit on YouTube and I'll be like, yeah, I will steal that idea.
I think we're very similar. I'm very pop. And also title drives my show. So Chasing Keanu Reeves was like the title, or Dirty Diana was the title, or Naked was the title. It was like the driver for the content. Totally. And I'm just going to do a little disclosure that the whole show that I'm doing called Chasing Keanu Reeves isn't all about Keanu Reeves. Just letting everyone know, because there is chasing in it. So yeah, I'm just going to.
There's also chasing in it.
Yes, chasing. Everyone, there's chasing. If you have a question for Lou, pop them in the comments and on LinkedIn or on Facebook. And thank you so much for joining us. We've got a couple of more questions, and I want to talk about your masterpiece that you created during lockdown last year. Your musical, Lucical. Is that right? Is that all right? Lucical.
Yeah. Lucical. Someone was like, is it Lousical? I was like, why would it be Lousical? It's Lousical to Cowsicle.
So you won Melbourne Fringe Cabaret 2020. I bought a ticket just before like the awards were out that day. It was great. It was all online. And I guess that question was like, how was lockdown for you, and how was it writing a show during lockdown? Because watching a show, it was like watching a YouTube vlogger documenting their journey. And I might have messaged you and said, oh my God, can you please, I don't know, people must have messaged you also and said, you should make this like a regular thing. Like, yeah, what inspired it and what got you going?
I think it's funny you say YouTuber, because I've always thought, like, since I was like 15, I was like, I'm going to be a YouTuber. And I've never, ever had the balls to post anything online. Like, like that shot, the video you posted at the start, I've never watched that. Like, I could never. But I think lockdown for me, I lost all my work, and then I was working as like a cleaner, and it was really good. It was like this nice, like calm. And then I kind of just snapped and I was like, I need to do something. And my partner had just bought a new computer. And I was like, all right, I'm going to I actually started out trying to make a 15-minute long short film. And it just spiraled into this 50-minute long. I don't even know what to call it. But I think, I think I started that because I really wanted to do the show still. And I saw this avenue online where I was like, oh, this could work better online than it could ever be. The premise of the show was that I have never completed a to-do list, and I've been writing them since I was 5. And so I kind of gathered up all my to-do lists and I stuck them on this green screen wall, which you can see over here. And I tried to complete every one of them in a month. But yeah, I kind of just quit my job and for 4 weeks filmed every day and edited every night, like was doing like 14-hour days, disgusting. And then somehow ended up with a show. I don't really know. I feel like it was like a lockdown blackout moment, how it got created. I'm like, something happened last year.
And I felt like it was, you know, a testimony to our journey as well. Like it might have been your journey specifically because it was your show, but it was so relatable because, you know, you talked about going to 7-Eleven and buying, or Aldi, buying batteries. And, you know, it was that joke that kept coming back in because we found ourselves having nothing to do, but our tasks never got done as well. So it was like really like simple comeback.
Yeah, I think it's like, because the whole show is kind of like based on like procrastination anxiety, which I like suffer from like hugely. And I kind of started Googling it, and everyone in lockdown was like, I have so much stuff to do, I never get it done. And like we all get so angry at ourselves for wasting time, which is so stupid. Like, so I was just like, okay, this seems like a really like a talking point that's like interesting. So yeah, went for it from there.
No, love it. And yeah, I was just, I think I've told you, but the one cracker that got me laughing so hard was you rolling down the street on your computer chair. Like, oh my God, I wish I was on that chair. Like, I wish I did that during lockdown. It was just so brilliant in its stupidity. I just loved it.
I was said to Jean, who's my partner who lives here, I was like, what if we film this sequence? Like, do you ever just feel like you want to like roll on your like wheelie chair and just like keep rolling and like never fucking return to the earth? And then I was like, I'm going to film it. And Jane was like, no, you'll wreck the wheels. And then the very next day there was hard rubbish and there was this wheelie chair. And I was like, Jane, I found the perfect wheelie chair. Anyway, there's ramps everywhere in the city. So I just went balls to the wall.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Fantastic. I'm going to shift to another gear. And, you know, you talked about lots of ramps. So I want to introduce this talk about diversity in comedy. And, you know, being a woman and a gay woman, you know, have you seen from doing your show from 2017, you know, Adelaide Fringe to now, have you seen a progress, and is there more that we can do for women and representation in comedy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have seen a big change, as with many like facets of life, but it's hard because being a gay woman, there's a lot of gay women in comedy actually. And the real problem with comedy is its whiteness. And like, we all know that. And people like you are doing so fucking much to like change that and disrupt the system. I think it's about just like creating space. I try and create space in most of my shows, not my solo shows, obviously, but all of my like group shows, to like bring up like talent and like, you know, champion the works of people of color and people who are like, you know, living in different minorities. But like, I think the main issue with the comedy scene is that it's just so white. And I constantly think, I'm like, God, should I just like leave it? Like, what's the point? But like, I kind of am driven by this idea that like, if I can make a space for me, then I can make a space for other people. But yeah, I look to you as like an inspiration in terms of, you know, like curating lineups that aren't just like all white boys or all white like gay women, you know what I mean? But yeah, I try to do that in all my work. I really want to try and do it more as we continue down this path.
Yeah. And thank you for the compliment. It's hard work, but I think, you know, once you realize that you can be part of the change instead of participate, I guess. And because your partner is Asian Australian, so that there is quite diversity in your relationship.
They're actually just Malaysian, not Australian yet, but soon.
Soon, gotcha. I made her a citizen already.
Hey.
But yeah, it was actually a great question because this week we celebrated International Women's Day, and and there's been talk on Talkback Radio about International Women's Day. Usually, generally have just women on the lineup or panels, but then it excludes men from the conversation because then it just caters to people who are already woke, I guess, who are already part of that. International Women's Day, women power, and I was thinking, what if we reverse that and just had one man and 8 women, so that they could feel how we felt? Is that the right way of doing? I don't know. Do you have an idea of how to do International Women's Day so it actually involves more male voices, or is it actually just International Women's Day?
It's constantly my dream to have a lineup show that just features one white guy and they're called the token, you know what I mean? And just place them in. I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I think International Women's Day is also exclusionary in terms of trans women and non-binary people. I think anything with a label becomes exclusionary just because, our world works in this binary. It's completely dictated by that. But I think it's fine for International Women's Day to just champion and feature women and trans women and non-binary people. I don't necessarily think that, because so often the male voice is added to the conversation. But also I support male allies on that day to be yeah, here's how I, contribute to this cause.
Yeah, no, and it's a good thing you also talked about non-binary as well and labels. The things that we celebrate are labels. We've got Australia Day labeled for specific people who want to celebrate Australia Day, but most of us want to not celebrate that day and call it Invasion Day, and celebrate the Australian on a different day that doesn't cause trauma and pain to our First Nation. So thanks for mentioning about non-binary, because this year was when I first really went, the lineup, how is that inclusive of all people? And I think that's where you got to do better. Your brain just has to go better, do better. I'm just rambling. That's all right.
No, it's great. It's great.
This is a question before we go into question time with our audience, but what would be your comedy tip? Because we've got a lot of people on LinkedIn, they're in corporate, they want to access their funny bone. What would be your tip for them to harness that and use that in their conference or speaking gigs? I
think my comedy tip would be that everyone in all walks of life appreciate comedy. It's the great unifier. So yes. I think even if you're going to put it into a speech, it feels terrifying and you're will I be able to pull off this joke? Will anyone laugh? But I would say 99% of the time, someone in the room will laugh. Do you know what I mean? So I'm go for the comedy. Comedy, it adds so much to your speech. I feel I'm just rambling now, but I think we all can connect with comedy, and I would just say as soon as you have that inkling, just put it in, go for it, because there's nothing like making someone's day. And I often feel with my work, I try to pack a bit of a political punch in it, but comedy is the vehicle that I can do that through. And without comedy, I would just be preaching to the choir. But comedy disarms people and it gets people on your side. And even when I've been researching this Illuminati thing, it's I've been talking to people whose worldviews are so opposed to mine, they believe in a flat earth, and I'm what? But the thing that unifies us is always comedy. I can always crack a joke and it'll get there. So I'd say, yes, if you ever have an urge, just go for it. And it's a sure bet.
And your biggest strength, I would say, is your music writing, your songwriting.
Oh, yeah.
Why is music such a powerful force for you to share your message?
I think music has a similarity with comedy. I also think music makes comedy better. Like I can just craft it more. The punchlines work. I can put like beautiful little stings and like drum beats around I can shape my jokes better with it. I also just like, it is my dream to be a pop musician, but I will never be one because I can't really sing. So I'm like, I'll just make it comedy, like there's nothing more comedy than not being able to sing.
How can you say you can't sing when you won the Cabaret Award? You're such a great
Yeah, but the
singer.
thing is, I didn't sing in that show. I just do talky, speaky, rappy thing.
And you're good on the keyboard, so yeah, it masters everything, doesn't it?
There was a lot of music in my family growing up as well, so that was very lucky for me. I had the privilege of being able to like learn piano when I was growing up, so that also really helped.
We're going to say hi to our audience. So we've got Sherry from Wisconsin. Welcome, the US. John, he's very speaking of things that are obvious but no one speaks about. Garner's nervous laughter, which is contagious, isn't it? I reckon, nervous laughter.
100%. Most of my laughter is nervous laughter, like constantly nervous.
That's where the anxiety comes out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We've also got Sherry, you're so funny and very cute. You make me happy, the energy you disperse. There you go. There you're cute. That's an interview, Luke. Yes. We've got Keith from Keyport, USA. Snort, welcome. We've got Gavin from Tyler, Port Arlington, I think that is. We've got Brazil in the room. Thanks for joining. And we've got good evening from Augusto, GA. I'm not sure where GA is. The question we've got here is, what is one thing you wish you didn't do in lockdown?
Interesting. I got addicted to this kind of game on my phone that was like, it was called Fishdom, and it was like build your own aquarium. And there was a point in lockdown where I was just playing it like 8 hours a day, and big regrets, huge regrets.
Wow.
I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of person though, so I often fall into those things.
What is your star sign?
I'm an Aries.
Oh, okay, young and Aries are young and hot. That's another show you can do about Aries. Right, and this is a question from me, which is, if you could ask Keanu Reeves a question, what would you ask him?
Oh, I always wonder how tall he actually is. Because on the internet, you know how celebrities, like their height, it's always like, they're 6'2", they're 5'11", like all that stuff. So I'd be like, Keanu, let's go back to back. I want to know the tea.
All right. Well, I'll try to research and put it in my show for you.
Yes.
And a question, I don't know who Sean's asking this to, but where is Neo?
Where's Neo? Where's
Yes.
Nemo? I think Nemo's been found, but where is Neo?
Well, even the Matrix, is it kind of talks about the altered worlds. It probably is, something, a conspiracy. Like, are we living in the real world? And is there another world outside? Like, is that part of that? Is that in your show at all?
That should be the link between our shows. That's how we cross-promote.
Yeah.
They're all part of the same cinematic universe. Yeah, definitely. Like, I definitely go into like the idea that we're living in a simulation and all that kind of stuff. I don't believe it at all, but I think there's something interesting about people who believe that. I actually think that a small amount of conspiracy theorists are really beneficial to society, because at the end of the day, they're just questioning things, and that is really important. So I'm like, hell yeah, maybe there is something out there. And also, whatever you believe, that's your truth, baby. Like, you go for it.
Yeah, that's your truth, baby. I love that's a good quote. Thank you, Trevor, for coming from Canada. Our Northern American friends are out. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love Canada too. And just a reminder that Lou has a show. It is on the second half of the comedy festival. It's called That One Time I Joined the Illuminati. It starts at 7:45, April 6th to the 18th. just type in Lou in the comedyfestival.com.au. And my last question before we leave, what would be any shows that we would like to recommend for our guests to watch during the comedy festival?
Your show.
Lou's
Like,
show.
Your show, like 100%. I was saying to Dana before we started this, I need to see this show. Like, end of story. Also, I'd recommend Aurelia's show. It's called Woke 2.0. Very funny, very dry, hilarious. And I have seen some like shows like that are going to be online. So if you live internationally, I would recommend those. There's one with I think maybe Lawrence Leung. I think he's doing one.
Yes.
Yeah, which looks very good. And there's a bunch of like Melbourne Comedy Festival curated shows online. So if you live overseas, I would recommend those. A little taste of Australian comedy.
That's it. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and sharing, where your comedy comes from, and and I can't wait to see the conspiracies that you mix into your work in 3 weeks' time. It's going to be great.
It's going to blow your mind.
Blow the mind. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. We'll see you all next time. We actually have our next guest on Monday night with Geraldine Hickey. She's going to do all up for us. Lou, thank you so much, and we'll see you all next time. Bye. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the show. My name is Diana Nguyen, and I am the host and creator of the SnortCast. We've been going live twice a week on the SnortCast. I just love live TV. The SnortCast. We've got international. We've got Williamsburg. We've got Ohio, Baltimore, Toronto. We've got Tonga. What? I think people just heard sex in the second point, so we'll flow from.
I'm not ready to talk about it. It is. I just don't. Oh my God.
What the hell happened to your arm?
It's just a fashion accessory.
That was fantastic.
Thank you so much for joining the SnortCast, something that I deeply love doing, which is laughing. And I hope to see you on our show every week, keeping it snorting real.